This film is about how to register your company as an SME on EU's Funding and Tenders portal. Only registered SMEs, which stands for small and medium-sized enterprises, are eligible to apply to the EIC Accelerator programme. This film will show you how to register your company as an SME in the portal. Once done, you will be able to start an EIC Accelerator application. The aim of the exercise is to formally report information which shows to the EU that your company is an SME by EU definitions. For other EIC programs, you do not formally need to do this. To qualify, your company must be an enterprise with economic activity. That means selling products or services and generating turnover. But since many companies in the health space do not sell for many years and therefore have no turnover, they are considered on the site as a startup and are exempt from this requirement. For most companies, the SME requirements will likely be straightforward, but it's important to bear in mind that the financial data from all linked entities, such as large shareholders, parent, sister, or daughter companies, may need to be reported into the system as well. Which brings us to what information you will need to gather in advance. As I said, depending on the ownership structure of your company, you may need to gather documents about associated companies as well. This slide will show you what is needed. If your company is autonomous, you will need to have your last approved accounts to hand. If your company has upstream owners or itself owns substantial shares in another entity, these accounts will also be needed, as will any downstream entities owned by your company or its owners. This can be complicated, and there's a very good help wiki on the portal. You'll see where later. If you have not yet registered your company, you need to see the first film about how to register and get a PIC number. If you have, the first thing to do is to log into the Funding and Tender portal site and go to My Organizations, then Actions, then Modify Organization. The page you should get to will look like this. So then click on Program-Specific Information in the left-hand menu, which will bring you to this part of the form on the right. And if you're a commercial SME, the form should look like this. Then click on the SME in the left menu and start the Sme Self-Assessment. You will be redirected to a new site. This is where all the information you've collected will be needed. Also, from here, you can access the helpful how-to wiki if you find the information in this film isn't enough. Once you have clicked the Start the Self-Assessment, you will arrive here. The instructions are clear and fairly easy to follow. And after ticking a number of declaration boxes and reading some information, you will arrive at the Start page for inputting your company information. For the EU to know if your company qualifies as an SME, it needs to be provided with some information from your company and its accounts, and those of any linked enterprises. If there are linked enterprises, you may choose to report all at once. So click Yes for consolidated accounts, or No to provide the information for each one separately. Depending on your answers, different questions will come up. Again, if this is complicated, check the glossary and do refer to the wiki I mentioned. It will help you a lot. For companies that have yet to sell their product or service, the EU needs to know when you expect to start getting a turnover. This is to check that the expected finances and headcount do not exceed their SME rules over time. This is a common situation for SMEs in the pharma and medtech business, especially those that are still heavily into R&D. So you will need to declare that your company invests in R&D. You will then get a drop down to fill in. Fill in your company accounts and then estimate the date you plan or expect to reach the market. Remember, this is just an estimation. You will then be required to fill in the estimated financial figures for all years up until that date. Clearly, this is also an estimate, and you should not worry about this not turning out to be correct in the future. This is your estimated figures based on what you know today. What is also important to remember is that this does not have to be exactly the same information as you write in the actual proposal. It is purely for the SME assessment purposes. So as I mentioned earlier, if you do have other linked companies, such as major shareholders, this is where these entities will be added. But only if they own more than 25% of your company, if they are business shareholders. For private person shareholders, the limit is 50%. So just as you reported information about your own company finances, you will need to provide this information for these other entities. Click on the shareholder button to input the information. If your company has no major shareholders, simply click the No Shareholders to Add button. And don't worry if you can't complete it all, or if you've had enough, just simply click the Finish Later button. So just like the company information, the shareholder information needs to be provided. Once you are done, click Validate. Please be aware that the question, is it a public body, does not mean publiek aktiebolag, as in företag AB, public. It is asking if the company is government owned. If you write yes here, your company will not be assessed as an SME. Once you have finished adding all the information requested, click the Validate button and it will bring you to this page. Tick the declaration boxes and then Finish and view results. If everything is as expected, this message page will come up and your company is an SME. So now you can go back to your main portal page and the orange TS will appear in all places where you have made changes. TS means to submit. If you're satisfied with everything, then submit changes, and if not, you can redo what is needed before submitting. Good luck with your application, and I hope you find this film helpful.